Well, hello friends, and welcome back to the reef. You may notice that we are missing a couple of our plate corals. That is because I have taken offense to them. I do not like them anymore. I don't like the texture, because I realized we had very few soft corals, other than the Gorgonian corals, which are kind of a soft coral, but not really. It's hard to explain. Anyway, there are things called leather corals, which are soft corals, but are a more leathery variety. Is the only way I can describe it. And they look very hyperbolic at the edges, like these little hyperbolic crochet pieces I've done here. To make something go mathematically hyperbolic, you double the amount of stitches in every single row. You can make it go faster if you triple the stitches in every row, but it gets too tight to stitch into very quickly. However, this is just a doubling over, and it takes about 4 rows to become hyperbolic, and that's where it can no longer fit on a single plane of space. It is a 2-dimensional object being forced into 3-dimensional space. That is what makes it hyperbolic. How to teach my students that. We had to tie in science to all of the weird projects we were doing all the time in crochet. Anyway, looks just like a leather coral top. So what I'm thinking is the leather corals also have a stalk, which takes up some space, but I don't want it to be the same texture as these, but I don't necessarily want it to be velvet, but it may have to be. The reason I'm glad I only just lightly glued these on is because now I can gently, sort of gently, just rip them off. And we're going to lose a little bit of yarn to that. But now it just looks like a coral and algae attached itself to the rock, which is algae that collects calcium carbonate out of the water column like a coral, but it is an algae. It is just a plant, but it pulls in the calcium carbonate. Where's that little piece of that I had? I had a piece of calcium carbonate coral stuff. Well, if I find it, I'll let you know. Anyway, it looks like algae, but it's white and looks like a skeleton. That is carboniferous algae, meaning it has like uptook calcium carbonate from the seawater. That's neither here nor there. You don't need to know that. However, I'm going to make a stalk for these. I'm going to make a yellow one. I left an extra tail of the peluche on here to fill in the 2 large holes because I forced it to go hyperbolic faster by putting triple the stitches after the magic circle. So I did 6, turned that into 18, and the next row was 36. Versus this one, which went 6, 12, 24, 48, which is how it ended up bigger. So we need a yellow one. I also don't like how dark this corner has gotten, but I don't want to put in colors that mess up our light beam here. So I want to pick colors. Maybe the orange would be best to put down over here, but I want to get a couple tall things to kind of bring up and forward that rock over there. That's actually kind of a nice height. We might aim for that and build a stalk and another one so that there's 2 leather corals. This one can go back up here and we'll make it a stalk. Yes. I like that better. I like that better than what we had, at least. And we'll make that one a stalk, and then it can be that way in a cup shape. Is that better? Yes, that's a little easier to see. And then I think we'll need one here because then I can use that to additionally shade the cave and give that some additional faux depth. Yes, I think we have a plan now. I'm going to do another one of these 2 stalks, that 1 stalk, yellow one perhaps there because that will bring the yellow down. We have yellow over here already. We have orange, orange, orange. Try to do it in 3s. And I can always rip these off. I also have 2.5 millimeter thick felt that I can bevel the edge on with a knife. And then I wanted to show you these. Look at these fun little things. I think they're supposed to be antlers for does. I do not think they are supposed to be corals. If they are, oops. But look, I got enough colors that I could do a bleached reef, like it was dying, or I could do a night reef that's like all rave colors, or I could do actual realistic colors. But I'm thinking these will look really cool. You zoom back out, in the front ground here, because they can take up quite a bit of space, and they would need to be more 3D than the Acropora coral in the back because they are in the front, as you can see. I may be taking this all too very seriously. I also went through my shell collection and found my tiniest shells that I found myself, even this teeny tiny sea star, and a little slipper limpet. Adorable. Anyway, I found some real shells in my hoard. But let's get started. We've got a lot of directions we can go now that I have to rip all these off because I hate them, and we have leather coral on our side. Also want to make a clam. Got these. I feel like I'm forgetting to show you something. Oh, I have this stuff, which I think with some work and some edging ideas, we can get to make into a nice version of a Gorgonian coral and maybe like do some cool foreground stuff like that. Either way, we'll see. We got a lot of beads. We got a lot of antlers / coral. It's fine. No one needs to ask me where I got those or how much they cost. It's fine. All right. I think we have a plan, and I think I've talked to you long enough. So ready, break. All right, it's been several weeks because I got distracted, to be perfectly honest, and I was making a bunch of other things because I got a little stymied on this one. I just was very unsure of how to keep going because I was kind of reaching my depth on how comfortable I am with layering stuff up. I'm very happy with how it looks at the moment, to be clear. However, I was getting very intimidated about doing these front portions. I was very unsure of how to keep going. So what I decided to do was set this guy down for a couple weeks and do some sketches with just some tiny hoops that were not useful for anything else to me, and I'm not going to take them out of these. They'll just live in here and I'll find some other way to display them. I'm on number 6 now, I think. This is number 1. So I was just testing out some different ways to use beads. These look, I liked the shape of this. I don't have any more of that bead naturally. But I was trying to use up beads, and boy, if you need to use up a flap ton of thread and just like get it out of your life. Like I have a whole DMC floss box that I would like to fill with other fancier fibers, but I can't, my brain won't let me donate it, so I have to use it up. I don't make the rules, I just follow them. This is number 2. I got a little more dense and squished and went for like an olive texture. I think the back rock I like the best here. And I had this cool check bead that's a shell, which is nice. And then in addition, this is number 3, where I got a little crazy. These are Blastomusa corals. They're also called candy cane corals. This is a very fluorescent and glowing thread. Not only does it fluoresce, but it also continues glowing. And then I tried to make it look like the little sheep nudibranch in 2 and 3D using some uranium glass. I think they're called dagger-shaped beads. I've learned more about beads than I care to in the last several weeks. And you know how I feel about beads, but now they're a huge part of my life because when you use up the beads, then suddenly you don't have enough of one kind of bead to finish a thing. I'm sure you understand. Okay, so then that was number 3. And then number 4 is this big honker. I thought I ordered the same size of hoop. Clearly I did not. These are not the same size. I don't ever remember ordering these before, but they were in my previously ordered. So God knows what I made with the last batch of 16 of these, but now we have 16 more. I found these antlers that are just plastic molded. They look more like a coral than an antler to me. These are hard plastic. They're calling them a sequin. It's more of a flat-backed cabochon with a hole in it because they're very flat on the bum. But this one is supposed to look like a reef that is bleaching. So the water, which in a normal coral reef would be devoid of all nutrients, it's very blue and crystalline like this. A dying reef will not be like that because the stuff's out of balance. It's out of wampus, or it's cattywampus. So there's some algae bloom in the water, which starves other things of nutrients. And corals are very efficient animals, so they don't like algae to grow near them, and they're very stingy, so they usually kill whatever plant or other coral, honestly, comes near them. You can look up corals fighting online. They actively try to murder each other at night. It's a thing. Anyway, so I tried to make this look like it was a coral that had started bleaching out, and the polyps of some were still alive. These would be the living polyps. Clearly, these are the dead ones. Similar situation down here. And these are just little daisy stitches. This is again a buttonhole stitch, just overdone. This is also a buttonhole stitch that I'm just using as tall to make it look like a bleached scroll coral and a bleached brain coral. I like that one a lot. It looks very bleached, and I used some of the fuzzy fibers. Not sure if you can see that on edge, but the fuzzy fibers to show the slowly encroaching algae. This is a bryozoan colony. Google it. You can find them on the beaches of California, or a coral and algae, take your pick. Then the last one I'm very proud of, but it's not at all what I wanted it to be. Wanted it to be a top-down view of the reef, which it sort of is. I got a little carried away on the scroll corals trying to use up a bunch of magenta thread that I found. Then I was thinking, what if we made it look like a big sandbar, but it, you know, as it gets deeper, it starts to look more blue than sand colored. So I wanted to get the perfect pattern of the sand. Does this hand motion help you? The autism is strong today. The sand riffles, which actually are so specific to some areas. You can like diagnose a beach by looking at the riffles, or a river sometimes. They're very diagnostic in their sand riffles. So anyway, I thought the riffles would be cool, like you were looking down on the reef, but then it just started looking like it was a cliff at the edge of the reef. And so then it got weird, and I just started like shading things in with you know, alcohol ink, trying to make it look like the corals were suspended above the sand, and so was the shark. And then the shark, I was like, the only option to fix this is the shark. I gotta put shark on here, and or something. And I couldn't find any fish that I liked, so I found a picture of a literal dead shark, and used that shading because it kind of matched the same degree of sun that was shining down on the coral. I'm not good. My autism doesn't tell me what a shadow should look like based on where the sun is. It's how I get easily lost in the wilderness. Anyway, I'm not good at predicting shadow, so I had to find a shark option in pictures that had the same directional shadow as the scroll coral I had already put in. You know what? Autism doesn't give me gifts in every direction, but I do think that the shark looks pretty darn good. I got some good shading on in there. Look at that. Tiny little guy. Anyway, he might be my favorite, but I am doing a deep sea ROV vehicle right now. Do I feel better about putting more stuff on the big one? Maybe. Do I feel like it's more fun to make little guys? Yes. I'm enjoying that considerably more, to be perfectly honest, as the decisions don't seem so important or permanent. Although I would like to say that I spent probably 8 to 9 hours on this sketch. I sketch like Michelangelo for 14 hours pre-doing anything. Anyway, so I figured that I would get us all caught up and you would see where we are at with the big reef, in addition to introducing you to the little sketchy reefs. And reefs, not reeves, reefs. And they all are marked with a number. That one as well. The 6th one with the ROV. The ROV is marked with a 6, like it's the 6th ROV, but it's just the 6th sketch. Someday on Antiques Roadshow, they'll be like, yes, there's videos of this crazy person making these. You can watch them still. One can only hope. Anyway, here's where we are at with our semi-3D reef, and I hope that you have enjoyed my particular brand of chaos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!